Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. There have been 5 articles written on Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, and Dominik Mysterio's storyline. We're going to try to do a synopsis of all 5 of them because they're all ludicrous. These things go back 2 weeks, from July 15th to July the 22nd. I'm not going to read every single one of them. We're just going to go through them, and we're not going to read everything that's in it. But I'm just going to tell you what it's about. A lot of it is about the Janelle Grant lawsuit, because these guys are obsessed with that stuff and they must talk about it. And I want people to see what kind of deranged lunatics we're dealing with here. Let's start with Voices of Wrestling, the most deranged of all lunatics. Jesse Collins, July 15th. The time to talk about WWE being sued for sex trafficking is on Raw. So we're going to skip right to this part here. He says, to the uninformed fan, the on-screen angle seems relatively benign. Clearly, the creative idea is to try to set up a returning feud for Ripley, who will be upset at Morgan for trying to steal Mysterio from her. However, it's impossible to ignore the obvious similarities between the on-screen story and the lawsuit by former WWE employee Janelle Grant. The defense team for McMahon has argued that Grant was infatuated with McMahon and that it was Grant who sexually craved the septuagenarian McMahon. I don't know. I don't remember that being in there, even though I do believe that I don't remember how that went. So I'm not even going to argue with that. That would require for me to read the lawsuit all over again. And I took notes, but I threw my notes away, so I'm not going to go through it again. And he talked about McMahon's defense is that she pursued him. He says, in the on-screen story, it is Morgan, another WWE employee, who is showing the WWE audience just how aggressive a woman can be in pursuit of a man, and that Mysterio is in the role of hapless bystander who is being exploited by the aggressive woman. Actually, she's trying to bribe him with chicken tendies and video games. That's what's trying to happen here. She's messing with his head by actually showing him positive attention and giving him chicken tenders and video games. And he says the most obvious allusion to the storyline has been made to the lawsuit came in a segment on Raw, where a clueless Mysterio receives a text message from Morgan. And what is clearly implied to be nude photos of Morgan, Mysterio announces she's crazy, but shows off the photo to his cohorts in the Judgment Day, who are all impressed with what they see on Mysterio's phone. I don't think anybody said anything about it being a photo. It could have just been a text. It could be anything. We don't know. And then guys do this. I know that it comes up that Vince McMahon supposedly showed Brock Lesnar some picture of this girl or whatever. I have been in that situation many a time where a friend gets something, they're like, man, look at this. This is crazy. And it seems pretty normal. I know girls do it too. I've seen them do it. It doesn't mean anything about sex trafficking. I think we've separated human behavior from criminal behavior. People do this stuff. Whether you like it or not, they do it. It's not an allusion to sex trafficking or to the ongoing sex trafficking lawsuit. None of this has anything to do with sex trafficking lawsuit. This is a regular soap opera storyline and a company that does soap opera storylines with regularity. So, clipping through that one, Jesse Collins of Voices of Wrestling is a psychotic who apparently is not human and has never shown a person a picture of a thing sent to him on his phone, which I know everybody does. So then we go to Rafael Garcia of Daily DDT. Liv Morgan's booking is drawing concerning parallels to lawsuit against WWE. This is from July the 16th, so it's the very next day. One came out on the 15th, the other came out on the 16th. So Rafael Garcia writes, quote, aggressive could be a term used to describe how Morgan has pursued Mysterio. He used every form of no possible when Morgan first started her advances. She continues to chase him every week. She took it as far as to involve social media and any other form of communication possible. She wouldn't take no for an answer. eventually whittling Mysterio's resolve down to the point where it is today. This is close to how McMahon has described Grant in his public statements since the allegations have come out. He's attempted to paint her in an aggressive light, chasing him time and time again. Art is all about perceptions and the way people choose to perceive storylines. I can't change people's minds on their perceptions. I can only say this is a normal storyline that's been done 100 times. I could tell that these guys have probably never had a girl actually like them. Some of them probably don't even like girls. Women will pursue you if they like you. Now, this is not the storyline that you're telling here, though. This is all a mind game by Liv Morgan. That's why she's not taking no for an answer. The idea is to break Judgment Day from the inside. That is the entire storyline. They told you this. People say over and over again that WWE storylines are spoon-fed to people, and yet they still miss the point of these storylines because they think there must be more to it than the simple story that's being given to you. There's got to be some kind of sinister subtext to it, and there's not. And here's the worst thing about this article, is that it actually quotes the Jesse Collins article. So you basically just went and wrote the same article that guy already wrote, and just, he really didn't put that much of a twist on it either. How embarrassing is that? You couldn't come up with your own idea, so you just basically stole that guy's article, and then put a hyperlink in there like you did something. You did the exact same article and made the exact same argument. You made the same argument. It doesn't make sense. All right. The next one, WWE's Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley, the problems in plain sight. This one is on Last Word on Sports. It was written July 22nd by James Stainings, another British gentleman. So, skipping, of course, through the setup, he says, I get why many WWE fans have repeated this idea of WWE as cinema since the Bloodline storyline when I discussed Roman Reigns' toxic masculinity. I agree that, at its best, the Bloodline borrowed and replicated tropes from gangster movies like Goodfellas or prestige TV like Breaking Bad. Likewise, the innovative and unique camera shots are undeniably cool. But as someone who loves cinema, from trashy so bad it's good horror grindhouse flicks to subtitle foreign art house films, the Judgment Day saga will never get an Oscars nod. Its Rotten Tomatoes score would be a chasm between what critics and audiences felt. If anything, it's not the kind of film that would be made today because of its problematic aspects. Yes, because we don't get decent romantic comedies anymore. The good days of romantic comedies. There was a time where somebody like me even liked romantic comedies. Believe it or not. Because they were fun. One of my favorites, believe it or not, I know people are going to probably cringe at this, but I'm going to go out there on a limb and say it. Zack and Miri Make a Porno. I actually like that romantic comedy. I think it's a unique setup, and it was not terrible in its execution. It wasn't bad. There's nothing wrong with romantic comedies, except today everybody is allergic to heterosexuality. Back to the article, it says, this is a story about Mysterio, an arrogant, cowardly man-child. Mysterio is being tempted by an attractive blonde while his brunette girlfriend is away. Can Dom resist temptation? It reads like a coming-of-age sex comedy from the late 90s or early 2000s. A meme that put the heads of the Judgment Day members and Morgan's heads on a poster from the 1999 film American Pie is apt. The storyline is about the WWE Women's World Championship, but it puts a man on center stage. Who will he choose? How will it impact the women? Will Dom sleep with both of them? It's all about sex. It is not all about sex. It's not about sex at all, actually. See, here's the thing. I said this, I keep saying this. The storyline is about Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. Liv Morgan wanted to beat Rhea Ripley for the title. She didn't get an opportunity to do that because Rhea Ripley got hurt. So she won the world title from Becky Lynch, but she's still angry and still wants revenge on Rhea Ripley. The one thing that Rhea Ripley has left is her support system in the Judgment Day. Her chief support in that support system is her lapdog, Dominik Mysterio. If she can get Dominik to flip on Rhea, then she's taking everything from Rhea. Because if he goes, then the rest of Judgment Day goes. At least that's the thought process. Or she can destroy Judgment Day from the inside. And she's going to use her feminine wiles to do so. That's a fine story. She can't beat him up. And Rhea was hurt / off to get married. So how else were you going to keep that storyline afloat? This, I think, works as a storyline because Rhea is physically so much bigger than Liv that Liv playing mind games is the best way to do it. And what's Liv's best asset? How she looks. The best story to tell is the story that you can see. This is the best story to tell. So even he figures this part out by saying there is somewhat of a subversion. Mysterio isn't in control. It's Morgan and Ripley who are manipulating him. But subversion and the appearance of autonomy and power don't dismiss the muddled elements of misogyny therein. These people are... What is this? What is this? You admit that Dominik is not even in control, and yet the story is still misogynistic. It's still a misogynistic story where Dominik gets treated like a little boy, getting kicked back and forth between these two girls. He's not in control of his own life. He's getting beat up. He's getting bullied. He's being pushed around. But it's still a misogynistic story. What? So he tries to make it make sense to himself by saying, I'll discuss in part 2, because this definitely needed 2 parts, how some of Ripley's motivations do not revolve around Mysterio. He revolves around Ripley. Well, that's obvious to anybody who's watched the show. That's pretty clear. She's the planet, he's the moon. That's how this thing works. It's how it's been working for over a year. Are you just now catching on? Are you taking the piss? So he says, he continues, yet Morgan, for her plan, revolves around Dom rather than her championship. There is a bigger motivation, yes. However, at its core, this is a sex comedy story, puts male gratification and male pleasure first. An uncool, dorky lead, Mysterio, is somehow able to get multiple attractive women competing for him. Oh, this guy's jealous. He is allergic to heterosexuality. Oh my God, this is awful. I can't believe these people are allowed to write articles and their thoughts are made public. This is embarrassing. Listen to what this guy says. He says, when some of the memes and surface level fan discord revolve around who Mysterio might have sex with, rather than the wrestling match between the two women themselves, it suggests a serious step backward. People are memeing. Memes aren't real. They're just jokes. What is going on? Why can't people make a joke anymore? Why are people taking what you see on the internet when people are just memeing on something, and all of a sudden that's what the story is about? No, they're looking at the story and they're reacting to it. That's all a meme is a reaction to the story. The match hasn't happened yet, so nobody can talk about the match yet. So we don't know how the match is going to work yet. All right, you got to be able to take things at face value. You got to be able to have fun with stuff. Everything doesn't have to be some kind of meta commentary about misogyny and toxic masculinity or anything like that. A guy, he's not James Bond out here wooing all the ladies. Dominik Mysterio is floating in the wind without Rhea. And here comes Liv Morgan to brighten his day with chicken tenders and video games. He's like, thanks, but, no thanks. And all of a sudden, that's misogyny. He might have sex with her. They might have sex. Nobody's having sex with anybody. Nobody's having sex with anybody. She's teasing him and playing with his emotions. Everybody can see that. This fool continues. If engagement was measured through memes, this Morgan Ripley Mysterio storyline would be the match of the year. Yet, looking closely at the jokes, meanings, and implications of these memes, sex is the primary theme. Some joke around Mysterio when he's going to give in to temptation. Morgan and or Ripley are posed seductively. Once I saw this morning, had Ripley posed with a black rose dangling in her face and her tongue out to lick it. It's suggestive and titillating. It's, oh my God, this good Puritan boy, this good Christian boy. How dare you show him what's likely to be an AI or somehow photoshopped image of Rhea Ripley licking a black rose or a pink rose or something like that. He's going to take it very, very seriously. Where did this guy get these Puritan values from? Where did this stuff come from? Oh my God. Let's continue, because he about to wrap it up. He says, although flippant, what culture's Michael Sidgwick? Oh, another virgin. These pimply faced idiots are quoting each other. Described his experience at WrestleMania 40, hearing fans behind him chant "Mommy" during their event with the following. And Michael Sedgwick wrote, quote, "They don't care about the limb work. They don't care if there is a potential opportunity for to disarm her, or if Rhea Ripley's strength is going to neutralize Becky's submission skill. Every male voice in my vicinity just wanted Rhea Ripley to sit on their face." That's fantastic. That is fantastic. They don't care about the limb work. She's working the legs here, guys. Don't you see that? How important this is to the match? Nobody... These people are aliens, man. They're aliens. You are an alien, all right? They can follow all of that. It's not that they don't see it. It's just it's not important. There's a hierarchy of important things. They care about who wins and loses the match. They want to see who wins it. That's why they're there. They're there to see who wins and who loses. But they're also there because the girls are hot. All right? And if they find a girl attractive, then they're going to want her to sit on her face, whether she wins or loses. So she wins either way. And as long as they bought her t-shirt or something like that, what difference do it make? So let's continue, because he's not done. He said, let's be clear. Women are allowed to express their sexuality, bodies, and appearance how they choose. This sexism in the presentation of Ripley and Morgan is about their characters, not the women themselves. I'm not going to delve any further into the politics of women's bodies and appearances because it's not my place, nor this article's place. Being sexy can be used as a means of female empowerment. Yes. Oh, he had to check his own privilege. Got to check your own privilege, brother. Ripley displays this as a character more than Morgan. Ripley, like China, is not tethered or dependent on a man. The Judgment Day needed her recently, and not the other way around. Ripley owns Mysterio, and not the other way around. Her alternative appearance and sexuality have been used only in part with Mysterio. Ripley has not been overtly sexual with Dom. Contrastingly, Morgan has. Fans have been questioning throughout the storyline if Morgan is playing a game, or is she playing with Mysterio and will probably discard him and work with Finn Balor. The motivation is revenge, yet as a personality trait, it's hollow. That's because revenge is not a personality. It is not. She's being petty. She's being manipulative. That's not hollow. You know how far you got to go into your own depravity to debase yourself, to pursue somebody else's boyfriend or love interest, only to stab him in the back in the end? You know how dirty and scumbaggery you have to be? And since she's trying to get people to hate and dislike her, she's going to go deep into herself and say, I'm going to be the biggest piece of shit possible. What is something that I can do that's going to make people hate me? Well, I can manipulate this poor, hapless Dominik. I mean, it makes sense. It works. And of course, this guy quotes Jesse Collins. These guys, oh God, these guys are quoting each other. How embarrassing. So I guess he's about to wrap this, at least this part up. He says, taking a step back since WrestleMania, the story and focus of the WWE Women's World Championship has been on this match at SummerSlam. Anticipation is driven by whether and how Ripley will regain her championship from Morgan. Not really. It's on what is Liv Morgan going to do in order to torture Rhea Ripley. And we know what she's doing. She's trying to break up the Judgment Day. She's causing all kinds of distractions. She's causing them to lose. She's got Dominik's head all screwed up. At least she did for a while. She's, doing some backdoor business with Finn Balor. It's all kinds of stuff going on here. He says there's been nothing else. No one else has been spotlighted or elevated because the storyline is about these three people. And it's definitely elevating Liv Morgan because now people are talking about her more than ever before. This is probably the biggest storyline she's ever been a part of. And he continues by saying, I question long term whether Morgan will remain in the main event scene given her stereotypical progression. Morgan has barely defended her championship because all these people care about is wrestling matches. Have you not been watching WWE? The last thing that they're interested in is fucking wrestling matches. Even in the Triple H era, which is more obsessed with wrestling matches than before, the story still is the primacy of it. People are interested in the soap opera element of it. The match will be the match, however it turns out. The storyline is what people are going to remember. In 10 years, 15 years, people are going to remember the storyline. They might not remember the match. If we're lucky, we'll remember both. He says, although there's a storyline that can justify this, it's just an extended version of WWE chicken scared heel champion. Yet Ripley has barely defended the championship. What do you mean she's scared? Rhea Ripley just came back. What are you talking about? Although Ripley has become a box office attraction, many of her title defenses seem academic and uninspired. She's the draw, not the wrestling matches. Yes, have you been watching WWE? Do you not understand how they present this product? That it's wrestler forward, personality forward, not match forward. And by match forward, I mean, it doesn't matter who you put in the ring with Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley is there to make money. They can sell merchandise with her in it. She's the star. It doesn't matter who's on the other side of the ring. All right? If you can make it matter who's on the other side of the ring, which is what this storyline is doing, it's actually making Liv Morgan somebody that people want Rhea Ripley to kill, then it works. That's how this works. That's how WWE works. Because you're not selling one match. You're selling 100. You're not selling this SummerSlam. You want Rhea Ripley to also be able to draw next year at SummerSlam, and next year at WrestleMania, and next year in Saudi Arabia, and next year at other events. So she needs to be a star. So they put her first. The personality, who she is, comes first. He's a dork. That's just one. He wrote another article about this thing. Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, while WWE fans don't care about its flaws. July 23rd. Jesus Christ. So now he's claiming that people are ignoring how terrible this storyline is, or the misogyny and all this kind of stuff, because, well, they like the storyline. This is such an unnecessary and stupid article. He writes this. It's not about bashing anyone's enjoyment of the storyline. Equally, it's not about excusing or justifying the points about misogyny I highlight in part 1. This storyline pleases viewers in other ways beyond sexual titillation. Wow, thanks. You just kind of made the entire first article pointless. Jesus. So he starts talking about consistency and progression, how this storyline has been consistent and has been progressing nicely. There's been some foreshadowing, a bunch of stuff like that. He starts talking about multiple stories and motivations, and you know how Damian Priest and Finn Balor, all of them are doing something different. Carlito and JD McDonough, they're having things to do with this story. You know, again, he's basically obliterating the previous article that he wrote about this being a male sex fantasy and all this kind of shit, right? Talking about nostalgia, the Eddie Guerrero China story, which I guess was, I guess that was misogynistic and toxically masculine when they were doing it, right? And that everybody is having fun. You know, everybody's doing TikTok videos, having fun being in this group and all this kind of stuff. This really was a completely unnecessary piece of work that he wrote here. This is ridiculous. There's so many of these articles that have come out, and it's almost like it's a brainworm. It's almost like they're NPCs. Jesse Collins from Voices of Wrestling wrote an article, you know, talking about the allusions to the sex trafficking lawsuit. That led to another article that talked about the exact same thing. And then this guy writes 2 articles about the same damn thing. What is they thinking? What is going on here? The lack of critical thought And the idea that we could just make everything as progressive and bland as possible, everybody should be focusing on wrestling and not personalities, and that personalities are not allowed to be whole people, which includes sexual beings, that heterosexuality is somehow a problem, and that anytime a man is involved in a quote-unquote woman storyline, then it's about the man, even though clearly he's not really the main focus. It's kind of goofy to me. And I'm embarrassed for these people. And it's almost as if they write these articles specifically for each other. And I'm not supposed to be reading them. Sometimes that's how I feel. I feel like these were not written for mass consumption. They were written for the consumption and the approval of other people who already agree with them. And I don't. But that's also why I do videos. Because I don't agree with them. And I don't think you do either. There's nothing wrong with this storyline. It does not, for everybody writing all these think pieces about it, it's not doing any good. It's not going anywhere. It's doing huge on YouTube last I checked. Everybody's happy. Everybody's making them bucks. People want to watch Liv Morgan fight Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam. It's going to happen. Everybody's going to either like it or hate it, or somewhere in between. And that'll be it. Everybody's going to be fine. Like, share, subscribe. Talk to you guys later. Peace out.
Best house I ever drew, Daddy.